At Merrill West Credit Union, we're working towards a brighter financial future for both our members and our community, knowing that when you succeed, we all succeed. Let's get acquainted with our Premier Savings for new members, now paying over 20 times the national average. Another great reason to move your money to a credit union. Learn more at merrillwest.com/premier savings. Merrill West Credit Union, working for you. Today, tomorrow, together. Insured by NCUA.
Now, being that it's 8:35 on Thursday, we're doing our segment that we've been doing for about a year and a half now. It's one of our favorites. It's our What's Up, Doc segment, where a specialist from Mercy Health comes on and lets us know what they do and how they can help us. And today we're talking about sleep and snoring and neurology, all that with Dr. Mohsen Kahn. Dr. Kahn, how you doing? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, good morning. Glad to be here.
Not a problem. So in all of our segments here, we like to get to know our doctor, where you came from, where you went to school, how you got there. So what's your backstory? How'd you end up here in Rockford?
Sure, no problem. So I think, as you mentioned, I'm a sleep disorder specialist. I'm a neurologist and the director of the sleep disorders clinic here in Mercy Health in Rockford. I actually grew up in not too far from here, out in the country in LaSalle County, just north of Mendota.
Oh, yeah. You're really out in the sticks, man.
Yeah. So my father was a family physician, and he had offices in Mendota, Amboy, and Dixon. And so I kind of grew up in the whole agricultural, rural community, kind of a family medicine atmosphere. So about halfway through high school, we actually moved back abroad to Pakistan, which is our home country. Mm-hmm. And I spent the rest of high school, medical school there. And then in 1999, I came back to Rockford. I did a research year at the College of Medicine right here in Rockford. And then fast forward to residency, I did my neurology residency at the University of Chicago. And then I stayed on for a sleep medicine fellowship at the University of Chicago. After that, I spent 3 years in Nebraska. So my wife did her training there. She's actually a family medicine physician, and she's part of the Mercy Health system as well. We chose to come back to Rockford because I wanted to have a farm, and we needed to be close to a big enough city because my wife's from close to New York City, so she's used to the larger population.
So you guys are like Green Acres, real life.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got it. So it's the best of both worlds. We have a farm outside of Poplar Grove, and we just have fun with the kids and do projects. And we do volunteer work for nonprofits as well. So it's been a good time. So we've been back here about 11 years. And as I mentioned, I do both neurology and sleep medicine. So I do 50-50 neurology and sleep medicine. And we do both adult and pediatric sleep disorders.
I promise you we'll get to the topic at hand here, but I have to know what are we growing on the farm? Any livestock? What's going on there?
So we bale hay. So we do bale hay, and then we have Nigerian dwarfs, which is a miniature breed of goats. So they're a lot of fun for the kids.
Oh, the kids gotta love having their own little mini goats in the backyard. That sounds like fun out there. Congrats on having a good life there. So, all right, let's get to your job. Your sleep specialist. That's kind of what we're here to talk about. What are you treating? Who's coming to see you?
Right. So the main complaints that we see are basically trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep, or just waking up feeling non-refreshed. Falling asleep throughout the day, and just excessive daytime somnolence, we call it. The three major conditions we deal with would be snoring and sleep-related breathing disorders like obstructive sleep apnea, which I think a lot of people are familiar with, restless leg syndrome, and insomnia. So that's kind of the bread and butter of sleep disorders.
Real quick, because you said a word there, I think we all kind of realize what sleep apnea is. The hard snoring, the stopping of breathing, things like that. But you mentioned restless leg syndrome, and I don't think that's anything I've ever experienced. It sounds it's an odd concept to wrap your head around. What is it, and how do you know if you're experiencing it?
Sure, it's actually very common, and so it's a sensation of, a lot of people describe it as creepy crawlies or an uncomfortable sensation in the legs with an urge to move, usually in the evenings or in sedentary situations, and that movement relieves the symptoms.
So what causes that?
So it's there's a dysfunction in a neurotransmitter known as dopamine, and fortunately, at very low doses, medications that act on the dopamine receptor will fully treat that condition.
And is this medicine one of those receptor inhibitors, or are we flooding with more dopamine on this medicine?
Well, we're giving an agonist or a direct stimulus to the dopamine, so you're actually giving more. Gotcha.
All right, now let's backtrack a little bit to another word you said, and that's sleep apnea, something everyone's heard of. How do I know if I have sleep apnea or if I'm just a snorer? Oh. Lost. Oh. 1 second as I answer the phone here, please. Tom, are you with us?
I actually am right now.
Tom, fill for a second here.
I'm enjoying this. Sleep apnea, I've never had restless leg syndrome myself, but I've heard about it, and I hear that it's not good. It's not a fun thing. It sounds terrible, I hope. As he was just describing that, Joe, I was thinking, gosh, I hope I never get that. I've heard that before, but it's nice to know there's treatment for it. So,
all right, I think we have our doctor back on the line. How you doing?
Great.
Good. Hey, doctor, we've been having just wonderful technical difficulties this morning. Thank you for stopping with us. So let's back there to my question. I don't know if you heard what I said, but how do I know if I have sleep apnea that needs to get treated, or if I'm just snoring and need to roll over?
Right. Snoring itself may not be a problem, but if we snore to the point where we're waking up with gasping spells, or people are complaining of episodes where one stops breathing, or if you're waking up non-refreshed, a lot of times with a dry mouth and just feeling non-refreshed. So any type of daytime symptoms such as fatigue, sleepiness, inattention, that's where you definitely need to get it checked out.
And what does getting checked out mean? Is that going through the sleep study and spending the night, getting observed?
Right. So a sleep consultation, you'd sit with a sleep specialist and kind of go through the history and then the exam. And then as far as the testing, there's two ways of doing it. We do at-home testing, and then we do in-lab testing. And it kind of depends on how severe the symptoms are. It depends a little bit on the examination as well. Sometimes we look at convenience factors for the patient. And so we have the ability to actually set up the study at home versus do the study right in the lab.
Insomnia, another thing that you treat, and I'm assuming insomnia these days, the last 5-10 years has crept up, and a lot of that is just external influences, screen times, having the phone by your bed, having the TV on, all that stuff. How many times does somebody come in for insomnia and it's all external effects and nothing actually happening inside of the body?
Well, I would say, just to, qualify a bit here, because see, these external factors, they actually cause neurochemical changes. So if we're under stress, it actually will induce, you will actually release adrenaline, cortisol, and excitational neurotransmitters. And so it actually will lead to a 24/7 state of hyperarousal. So insomnia is actually a 24/7 state. And definitely our external environment, especially with the with COVID and all the stressors of work and remote learning and screens and et cetera and so on, this all adds up. And there's a certain threshold, and I'd be surprised if there are very many people who don't have insomnia. So I mean, the lifetime prevalence is something like 90. We break things down into situational insomnia. You have a wedding coming up, and so you're not sleeping well. And then you move on to where a primary insomnia syndrome, which I'll just give you a little bit on that, which is where you're trying to fall asleep, and the fact that you're trying to fall asleep actually heightens your level of alertness, and it just makes it difficult to fall asleep. So it's a positive feedback cycle where you're actually making yourself more alert.
Gotcha. when we talk about sleep, to the common layperson, myself included, when you start thinking about sleep, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird where we just kind of go unconscious for a couple of hours and then wake up and we feel better. And I have no idea what's going on inside the brain, what's going inside of me. That's not weird. But I feel like, too, when experts get involved, when you start diving into certain realms, you find out things that you don't understand, that I don't even know what that's about. Does that make sense in the sleep world? Do we know what's going on when we're asleep 100%? Is there still stuff to find out about how we sleep?
Right. Kind of both, and I think I understand your question. So sleep traditionally was thought as the absence of wakefulness. So that was a traditional thought, sort of back in the sort of 40s and 50s. And in roughly the mid-60s, Nathaniel Kleitman, which is actually discovered active sleep, which is REM sleep, at the University of Chicago, which is where I trained. And they found that there is a lot more going on in sleep than just not being awake, such as consolidation of memory, such as resetting the gastrointestinal system, such as your muscles regenerating, such as, and the list goes on. Essentially, every single organ system in your body is going through chemical changes to restore and reset. And that's why sleep itself is important to get not only cognitively reset, but also just for your physical health. And sleep deprivation is linked to high incidence of heart disease and stroke and diabetes. And so even sleep deprivation not related to a primary disorder, but just simple insufficient sleep syndrome, which we see commonly in teenagers and college students, it starts to wear on the body.
Doctor, my next question, I'm going to start with a statement that I'm sure all doctors love to hear, and that is, I saw on TikTok the other day that that we evolved to not sleep a continuous 8 hours. We kind of evolved to have a chunk of sleep at night. We would get up, we would do some work, and then take a little nap. Kind of in the afternoon and get up and do more in the evening. This very much appealed to me because as somebody who does morning radio that wakes up at 3 a.m. every day, that's kind of what my schedule is. 5-6 hours at night, maybe an hour or two nap in the afternoon. Is there any credence to that? Do you need the uninterrupted 8 hours if you just get 8 hours somehow throughout a 24-hour period? Is that enough for your body to reset itself?
So in traditional societies, you're right. You would actually have essentially an 8-hour workday. And so you would wake up at the crack of dawn, which is the way we're programmed. You'd wake up at the crack of dawn. You would put in your 8 hours of work in the field or in a traditional, environment. And then there's a circadian dip that occurs in early afternoon where you would take a nap. And then that would allow you to just regenerate and go on with the day. So that is evidence-based, and there is definitely data to suggest that that's healthy. However, at the same time, I think modern society is pushing in the other direction because not only are we not so napping is not necessarily a bad thing, but in the context of the schedule that we all live in, it's challenging to nap and then stay up late. And so, yes, biologically, there are two dips for your circadian rhythm. One is late in the evening, and then one actually is in the afternoon, which is interesting because we'll feel that fatigue in the afternoon. And that's one of the things I tell my patients that sort of our high energy patients that they're not falling asleep at the wheel, they're not dozing off, but in the afternoons they're just not as attentive and they're not as productive. And it may be a sign of an underlying sleep disorder. But what we do is we look at the total sleep time. And you're right, if you're getting 6 hours at night and you're getting 2 hours in the daytime, and you're doing it consistently, then that does suffice.
Well, that's awesome. No, hey, doctor, I could talk to you for another 2 hours, I believe, but we are out of time. Before I let you go, did I not get to something that you absolutely wanted to share with our audience?
No, not at all. I think we covered the basics here. We're glad to help out here at Mercy Health. We do both adult and pediatric sleep disorders. We love to help out, so call us anytime.
And then, Dr. Kahn, what department do they need to look for to find you?
Sleep medicine.
Sounds good. Schedule an appointment with Dr. Kahn. If you have any issues or something that we talked about today, Dr. Kahn, thanks a lot for joining us. You were great. One of our another good guests here on the What's Up Doc segment. Have a good day and have fun on the farm, man.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Appreciate that.